You're listening to The Issues from the Capital Region. In upstate New York, I'm Alicia Purdy. As the Capital Region begins Phase 1 of reopening this week, Governor Cuomo shed some light on the state's efforts to allow religious gatherings and services to safely resume. Effective Thursday, the state allowed for religious gatherings of up to 10 people to take place. The governor has asked places of worship to consider services that use social distancing methods, such as drive-in services. Meanwhile, he says the state is working with its Interfaith Advisory Council to develop safety measures for religious gatherings involving groups. Cuomo said he understands how religion and faith can provide much-needed comfort at this time, but he did emphasize that resuming gatherings and services must be done smartly in a way that doesn't put people at risk. The state will also allow religious gatherings in parking lots and drive-in movie theaters where social distancing can be followed much easier. Some houses of worship over the last 2 months have taken to broadcasting their services to empty pews over social media and video conferencing platforms. However, many congregations have pointed out not only a scriptural mandate to worship together, but noted that in-person gatherings have not only spiritual benefits, but also psychological, emotional, and mental health benefits as well. Additionally, the Capital Region has successfully met all 7 of the state requirements imposed by Governor Cuomo to begin the process of reopening. However, reopening in the Capital Region, as well as anywhere else in New York State, is a multi-phase process. Starting Wednesday, May 20th, the Capital Region entered into Phase 1. If coronavirus numbers remain stable, each phase is expected to last 2 weeks. Phase 1 started May 20th. Phase 2 is expected to begin on June 3rd, Phase 3, June 17th, and Phase 4, July 1st. Cuomo also announced this week that small Memorial Day ceremonies will be allowed over the weekend. Rensselaer County Executive Steve McLaughlin said his county was ready to open well before the Capital Region got the go-ahead, but the governor has said the state will keep opening on a regional basis. McLaughlin said his county can keep in compliance with the guidelines that the state set to open and that it is time to get the economy going again, noting that the curve is as flat as it can be right now. McLaughlin said that continuing to stay closed is destroying lives. Hospitalizations in Rensselaer County never went above 25, with the total number of active cases reaching around 160. Albany County has seen the most coronavirus cases in the Capital Region in part because of aggressive testing, but now they've been just as aggressive in finding contact tracers to start reopening. Albany County Executive Dan McCoy says they identified an additional 225 employees that are being trained if needed. His office says they believe Albany County now has the most contact tracers in the region. McCoy says Albany County lost $2 million over the last week in sales tax revenue as compared to this time last year, and that the reopening is going to make a big difference economically. McCoy, like Cuomo, expressed concerns about Memorial Day weekend, urging New Yorkers to take recommended safety precautions as they celebrate. Liz Joy, a Glenville woman running against Democratic incumbent Paul Tonko for the Capital Region's 20th congressional district seat in the House of Representatives, is making headlines for a recent interview on the Alive Radio Network, where she called out Tonko's support of the HEROES Act, a bill recently passed by the House that included what 21st Congressional District Representative Elise Stefanik called, quote, poison pills. Joy, who was on the Republican ticket in the race, expressed concern that Tonko's support of taxpayer-funded stimulus checks to illegal immigrants in the HEROES Act, among a number of other pork spending inclusions, would further harm New York's shaky economy. During a virtual town hall meeting this week, Tonko said that the HEROES Act, which is the largest spending bill in U.S. history, topping $3 trillion, would support first responders with much-needed money. Tonko also expressed support for Governor Cuomo's plan to cautiously reopen the economy in phases, saying that any other approach was in conflict with scientific data and dangerous to the public. Liz Joy responded by announcing her plan to defy Cuomo's stay-at-home orders, calling them unconstitutional overreach and a harm at every level to the people of New York as domestic violence, mental health issues, and economic depression continue to plague the state. The HEROES Act, which the U.S. Republicans in the Senate have called dead on arrival, was heavily touted by Paul Tonko, who said that the spirit of the bill should be recaptured. While Elise Stefanik said the level of poison pills packed into the bill were a direct threat to hardworking Americans, who would bear the brunt of the payments in their taxes, among other issues. The election for the Capital Region's 20th congressional seat in the U.S. House of Representatives, for which conservative Republican Liz Joy and self-proclaimed socialist Democrat Paul Tonko are both running, will be held in November of this year. Meadowbrook Farms, a locally owned and operated dairy farm in Clarksville, has drawn attention, both positive and negative, for more than their famous milk by proudly and visibly flying Trump 2020 flags on their property. While many in the region support Meadowbrook's decision, some groups have responded in anger, writing scathing social media posts and calling out local stores who carry their milk, even though purchasing milk from Meadowbrook Farms directly supports the local economy. Some have criticized Honest Weight Food Co-op in Albany for carrying Meadowbrook Farms milk. In fact, some social media discussions on the Honest Weight Food Co-op's Facebook page were so contentious that the store felt obligated to step in with a statement urging civility. Charles Van Wee, who owns and operates Meadowbrook, said he was unaware of the controversy, stating that he believes in freedom and liberty, and that's what the Trump 2020 flags he waves is all about. A recent poll in the Wall Street Journal showed that an overwhelming majority of American farmers fully support President Trump, meaning that most people who oppose the president are still paying in to support those who support him. Van Wee says he understands the flags may cost him business, but that he's sticking to his opinion, noting that his many liberal customers are treated as well as any others, and if some don't like his opinions and refuse to buy his milk, he can live with that. Albany Med is one of 16 hospitals statewide participating in a 2-week pilot program to ease visitor restrictions and help New York State determine if hospitals can safely resume visitation. According to a press release from the hospital, beginning Thursday, May 21st, Albany Med started allowing one visitor 18 years of age or older to visit a patient between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. each day. Similar to the hospital's earlier protocol, visitors will be screened for temperatures and respiratory systems and issued masks and must enter the facility at the B2 entrance and will only be permitted to go to the patient's room, visit with the patient, and then leave the hospital. Anyone visiting a patient with COVID-19, including those with suspected case, is required to have a face shield, masks, gloves, and a gown, items which will be provided. The hospital also reminded visitors to practice good hygiene and use the waterless hand cleanser provided at entrances. Albany Med first implemented restrictions on December 11, 2019, following a declaration by the state that the flu was prevalent in the area. In response to COVID-19, Albany Med strengthened visitation guidelines on March 11th. During the course, they've included several compassionate exemptions, including those experiencing end-of-life, obstetrics patients, and sick or injured children. For updates, visit the Albany Medical Center website at amc.edu. Crossgates Mall has announced that after being closed for 2 months, some of its stores and restaurants will be opening again for curbside pickup. Right now, pickup is limited to just a handful of stores at Crossgates Mall and Crossgates Commons. Shoppers who want to pick up items must call each store ahead of time to place their orders, and no one will be allowed inside. During the coronavirus pandemic, some essential stores in Crossgates and Crossgates Commons, like Walmart and Best Buy, have already been offering their services throughout the pandemic. As the Capital Region economy slowly reopens, more stores are expected to follow suit, offering new ways for shoppers to obtain items without close or even in-person interaction. However, many stores will be operating on reduced hours and with limited staff. Across the country, some shoppers have become aggressive and even violent with store employees when wait times extended beyond expectation. However, the hope locally is that as stores continue to evolve in their modes of business, shoppers will adjust to the new normal. 2 state lawmakers have introduced a bill designed to put a check on how long New York State can be in a state of emergency. Assembly members Angelo Santabarbara and Marianne Butenschon, both Democrats, have introduced legislation calling for a maximum of 30 days for a state disaster emergency declaration before requiring the governor to get approval from lawmakers to extend it beyond the initial 30 days. So far, during the coronavirus pandemic, Governor Cuomo has ignored New York State legislators and overridden their rulemaking power and the established legal process in the state, while issuing hundreds of executive orders repeatedly extending his own power. Assemblyman Santabarbara said he supports Governor Cuomo's pandemic response, but that there needs to be a check on executive orders during emergencies. According to Santabarbara, the governor has suspended hundreds of laws through executive orders, and much of the reopening plans have gone forward without enough input from the local families and businesses. Santabarbara called for safeguards to be put into place to protect the rights of New Yorkers and limit the governor's emergency powers if necessary. The legislation also seeks to require the governor to give weekly reports to the legislature during an emergency or disaster. Cuomo has frequently circumvented elected state legislators, which represent the voices of all New Yorkers, and the governor has drawn sharp criticism across the aisle for continued failures in his response that has cost lives on every level. With the reopening process now being discussed, the proposed legislation seeks to reestablish the state legislature as a co-equal branch of government, while still empowering the governor to do what is necessary to keep people safe. But, Santa Barbara noted, it will prevent the use of executive powers to circumvent the legislator. Santa Barbara said other states already have similar laws on the books. And Republicans in the state Senate are also calling out Governor Andrew Cuomo for failures in yet another area of his pandemic response, nursing homes. After Governor Cuomo forced the Capital Region nursing homes to take in scores of New York City residents infected with the novel coronavirus, local elderly people began to become infected and die at a staggeringly rapid pace. Senate Republicans sent a clear message to Governor Cuomo and his administration regarding the safety of nursing homes, issuing a statement Wednesday demanding that Governor Cuomo and the state Department of Health increase their focus on protecting nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and adult daycare centers. Senator Jim Tedisco said the governor has refused to accept any responsibility for his administration's policy of sending COVID-19 positive patients into nursing homes, which caused the virus to spread, leading to the deaths of over 5,400 New Yorkers. He also pointed out that the governor is mandating nursing home staff be tested twice a week for the coronavirus, but won't provide a reasonable plan to help ensure that cash-strapped municipalities and nursing homes can adequately provide the necessary tests. Tedisco called Cuomo's actions and inactions totally unacceptable. When questioned about the criticism he'd been receiving about his handling of nursing homes during the pandemic, Governor Cuomo said at a May 20th coronavirus press briefing that he would not get into political back and forth, but noted that anyone who wonders why he did what he did should look to President Trump, noting that he simply followed President Trump's CDC guidance. Governor Cuomo also denied allegations that New York was falsely reporting the number of deaths at nursing homes, making them appear significantly less than they are in reality. According to Senator Tedisco, over 5,400 deaths have occurred in New York nursing homes as a direct result of Cuomo's decision to send infected patients into their care. A longtime federal judge in Albany granted compassionate release to a Troy man serving 15 and a half years behind bars for his role in a cocaine trafficking ring. Benjamin Roundtree, who possesses a long rap sheet of crimes, served nearly 8 years of his sentence, yet received time already served in a decision issued Monday by senior U.S. District Court Judge Lawrence Kahn. The judge noted Roundtree has diabetes and high blood pressure, which placed him at a high risk for developing a severe case of COVID-19. Kahn noted that Roundtree's behavior in prison was exemplary and that the inmate lacked a history of violence in prison. The judge ordered Roundtree to spend the first 2 years of his post-prison supervised release confined to his home, with the exception of trips for work, medical care, religious, or community services. Under the First Step Act, which President Donald Trump signed into law in 2018, federal inmates can ask judges for compassionate release after they exhaust their administrative requests through the prison system. The Bureau of Prisons must have considered and denied the request, or 30 days must have passed from when a facility's warden got their request. However, Judge Kahn circumvented the process, saying in light of the dangers posed by the prison environment, the need to expedite consideration of requests for compassionate release premised on potential exposure to COVID-19 takes on a new urgency. Kahn also said even if the Bureau of Prisons tested for COVID-19 consistently enough that its statistics could be relied upon, prison still poses a significant threat to individuals with health conditions like Roundtree's, because Kahn feels they serve as incubators that accelerate the spread of disease. Kahn has also granted compassionate release to one of Roundtree's co-defendants in his case, Carl Logan, whose more than 12-year sentence for cocaine trafficking conspiracy was commuted on April 22nd. The judge also granted compassionate release to former Loudonville asbestos businessman Alexander Salvagno, who was convicted on a major racketeering conspiracy in what was at the time one of the most serious environmental crimes in U.S. history. He was sentenced to 25 years. Roundtree complained about his prison conditions, telling Judge Kahn that it was impossible for inmates to remain 6 feet apart. He said inmates were recently issued masks, but that 90% refused to wear them, and that in his area of prison, 20 inmates shared a single toilet. Acting as his own attorney, Roundtree asked Kahn for some home confinement. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Albany staunchly opposed Roundtree's release, saying he needed to exhaust his efforts administratively. And Assistant U.S. Attorney Daniel Hanlon reminded Kahn that Roundtree has 3 prior felony drug convictions, as well as prior convictions for misdemeanor assault. Even so, Roundtree pled for leniency, swearing before Judge Kahn that he had learned his lesson and complained that he was tired as prison life took its toll. Circumventing the legal process, Kahn agreed and released Roundtree in spite of his extensive history of crimes. You've been listening to The Issues in and around the Capital Region. In upstate New York, I'm Alicia Purdy.